I'll follow you into the dark.
Like I've done with some things recently, I've left this a bit of time to make sure that everyone's had a chance to watch it. Also, me doing The Legend of Vox Machina means that I'm recording this way before it's going live. So a lot more people will have had a chance to watch Ricky Gervais's series Afterlife, which he obviously stars in, as well as creating it, etc. But alongside him are Kerry Godliman, Tony Way, Diane Morgan, Auntie the dog, a whole bunch of great people here. And it's weird. I like Ricky Gervais on a general level. There's some things that he said and some things that, he's done in his body of work that I haven't been entirely in agreement with or haven't really enjoyed. But we are both very open atheists. Well, I'm more agnostic. I don't think either way is a valid way of being unless you have definite proof. That's what I consider agnosticism to be. I do not know. Give me proof either way. But yeah, so in a general sense, we are in a similar idea though around religion. And there's been a lot of films that I have liked and a lot of series I have liked. I've covered The Invention of Lying on this channel before, which brought me the ire of Universal Group. But I'm not going to dwell on that. But one of the things that I didn't know about this series, well, let's briefly say a bit about the series, obviously to catch us all up to speed before I go into that. So this is the story of a guy who loses his wife to cancer. It's a thing that happens to a lot of people. It's not great. We're still nowhere near a real cure or permanent solution to the problem. But there are treatments that if things are caught early enough and they're not in too complex of a place to deal with, it can be managed. And quality of life as well as lifespan is vastly improved over even decades prior. But still, we lose too many people to it. There's no way around that. It's not good. But she left him videos. I mean, throughout their relationship, they were constantly filming each other, and we see as series go on that we have a lot more of these things, these fun interactions. But towards the end, it was video diaries, kind of charting how she's feeling, how she's been getting on, how much strength she has that day, even being honest about it. But the last video is the one that really, I think, both makes him feel good about it, but also brings him a lot of heartache. And that's the idea that when I'm gone, you've got to live. There are people in the world who want to see you thrive. And you need to be there for them. You can have a life afterwards. You don't have to worry about me. I'm not going to be judging you from beyond the grave. But that's what she wanted for him. And in the first season, it was very much a man who would end it right then and there if he didn't have Brandy the dog. That was his own real, or only real, purpose to continue. And throughout the course of that first season, he realises that, yeah, there's people around him who care. His boss and his brother-in-law, Matt, wants him to move on, wants him to live his life, because they've lost the same person. And whilst it's different, a relationship, of course, I would really hope so, in every way. But, it's still the same person, and I don't like the idea of false equivalence, and I think that's Matt's problem in that first season particularly. It's like, we've lost the same person, it's, move on. But I understand his logic. But there's people who he meets and he gets on well with. He realises that, yeah, if even just for those people, I'll continue. And I think to a degree, being a crotchety old git is also kind of fun for him as well. It gives him a purpose to, or a reason to continue. So in the second season, sort of furthers that. He builds a relationship with the woman at the care home who's looking after his dad a bit more. But he's still not there yet. He's still not fully over it all. He's a bit more out in the world. He's actually wanting to help people a little more. And like I say, just carry on with his life. But he's not really engaging in the world. And then finally this last season just brought it all to a full circle. I think the video that we see at the end is the same one at the start. I meant to go back before recording this, but I forgot to, but I'm fairly sure. Someone will correct me, I'm sure, if I'm wrong. But it did loop back quite nicely. And this idea that he's now at the point that he's helped these people A lot of these people with their own issues and things that they've got to deal with, things they don't like about themselves, things they've lost even potentially. But he sees that, yeah, I have been the glue that can pull these things together. I have been an ear for people. I have been a way for a new character introduced just this season who has no way to live. I have been able to get them somewhere. I have seen my work friend, my photographer I take with me everywhere, get married. I have seen this awkward girl in the office who's into all astrology and tarot and all the kind of weird things that he doesn't necessarily believe in. But I've helped her get past just a terrible first date and no more. I've helped to build, hopefully, a connection with this guy. And that last episode was the culmination. That ending, I was like, yeah, I get this. This was worthwhile. And I do think it's good for those of us who have not even lost people, anything that causes you any grief or distress. If you've had that kind of thing, I think this is a good way of reframing your mindset. It's not just about losing someone to a horrible disease. It's about learning to live again after grief or trauma or whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be just in the confines of this. I think it is applicable to a lot more. One thing I didn't know before recording all of this was that the sun was going to disappear on me at some point during the day, but also that Ricky Gervais was touring, if I recall correctly, and it was the time when cancel culture was starting to become the thing that it had become. I'm not going to get into the details here of my personal opinions on it. That's a video for another time, whether it's on this channel or the other one. I don't know, but I do think there's a lot there to talk about if I feel up to it, let's say. He was very much of the mindset, like a lot of comedians, that if it's funny and it's not punching down, it's fair game. And for those who may not be aware, punching down in comedy terms is, say, for example, a completely able-bodied person making disabled jokes. Even going so far as to do impressions, I think would be the worst case scenario of it. If it's done in a way, just literally laugh at the disabled. If they have disabled family members, then it's a grey area, for me at least. But then if someone, say like British comedian Rosie Jones, makes a joke about her own condition, that's not punching down. She's not saying laugh at my condition, she's saying laugh with me at what I have to deal with. One of my favourite jokes of hers, because of one of the difficulties she has, is her speech is very slow. I'm going to paraphrase the joke because I'm not going to get it exactly word perfect, and I shouldn't. It's not my joke. But the idea basically is, I'll finish this joke at some point, and I love that. You know, the fact that we can laugh. I laugh about a lot of things I have issues with. And I think it's good to do that. But like I say, you never punch down. I never make jokes about being in a wheelchair, because that's not my experiences, that's not my life. I can make jokes about the fact that after a hard day or just out of nowhere, because fibromyalgia is great like that, I've walked around the house like I'm 70 odd. You know, the tiny little barely even a stride. I can do that. But that's the problem these days with cancel culture, at least as Ricky Gervais saw it. It was a case of everyone just assumed that if you were making a joke about something that was a bit of a touchy subject, you were therefore punching down, and that's bad, and we're going to remove you from all platforms. I'm not getting into the Dave Chappelle thing. That's, again, a whole separate issue. But he wanted to rail against that. And one of the biggest issues is he likes final editorial control, like any good creator should. But if he's doing it for a network or a specific channel, whatever it may be, he can't have that final say. You will get the legal team coming in saying, you can't say that. And all he can do is, I mean, unless he just wants all of his work that he's put all that time into scrapped, and therefore all of the people he's brought on board as well aren't going to probably get paid, he's just got to go, okay, I'll take it out. That's not good. So, with Netflix, they have a much more, we're not going to interfere. Unless it's something absolutely awful, and we're going to get entirely cancelled as Netflix for it, we're not going to interfere. And even some stuff that people think they should interfere with, they generally don't. And he respected that. He was like, fine. So he was going to push the envelope. He was going to go as far as he could within the realms of what he was comfortable of doing. And I respect that. I think this show was all the better for it. It dealt with actually a human interaction with a sex worker. She wasn't just, to put it the most blunt way I could think, a bunch of holes for use. She was a human who happened to go, well, that's a job that I can do. It's a way of making money that I'm comfortable with. And anyone in that field, if you're fine with it and you're not being exploited, have at it. I don't care. And I like the fact it did stuff like that. But would he have got away with that in network-controlled television? I don't think so. So yeah, at its core, Afterlife is the story of a grieving man making connections in the world again. And learning that whatever you do here makes an impact. And by the time you've gone, if you've made the world a better place, that's good. But that's no excuse to leave it too soon. No matter the trauma, no matter the grief, no matter what you've gone through, stay here as long as you can make an impact. And for most of us, that's all our life, if not all of us. So yeah, if you've ever struggled with stuff, obviously make sure you're in a good place that you can deal with it, obviously. I think that should go without saying. But yeah, if you've got the mental bandwidth to deal with it, and you're interested in an interesting look at just what it means to live, then give Afterlife a go. It's definitely worth it, and I think it's some of Ricky Gervais' best work. So that's all from me on that subject. There'll probably be links below for help, as I like to do in these kind of slightly heavier videos. But all that's left to say is, as always, thank you for watching, and really, take care.